Trudeau's government just announced they're going to add nearly another $40 billion to our federal debt. This was a clip from recent times. A reporter asking, could the Liberals just have some sort of fiscal restraint?
We see signs of a stalling economy, as well as many people are still struggling financially. Can your government exercise fiscal restraint at such a time? What are those challenges?
Well, first of all, we are a government that has always exercised fiscal restraint.
I can't even believe he even came out and said that. That is just unbelievable. Let's have a look at some of the fiscal restraint that he's had over the last little while. The cost to run the federal government is up $151 billion a year on Trudeau's watch. Feds post $4.3 billion deficit as higher interest rates grow public debt charges. Trudeau government has spent most money per person per year in Canadian history. These are all have receipts. Trudeau government spends on polling raises to $20.3 million, nearly doubling what it was 3 years ago. Inflation spikes 2 months after the Liberals declare a victory. This is unbelievable. And I mean, the list just keeps going on and on and on. Now, we just got the inflation numbers a little bit early. We got it a little bit early. Marty up north putting this out there. They released the inflation numbers a day ahead of schedule. It's going to be absolutely nauseating listening to the Liberals try to convince us that their measures are working. And I still have to say, like, these numbers are bunk. Inflation is way, way, way up compared to what they're giving us here. These are consumer price index numbers of 3.1% 12-month change, it going up. Yeah, things are a lot more expensive than that. But of course, they want to throw in all kinds of things into that basket of goods that are deflationary. Namely, the purchasing price of homes at the moment, they are starting to go down, but not down to the point where they're affordable in any sort of way. But anyway, Chrystia Freeland, sorry folks, going to have to give you a trigger warning here for anyone who's listening to the audio. This could get nauseating, but yes, more reckless spending and an additional $20 billion in deficit. Canada spends more on debt servicing than it does on healthcare. That's interesting because we had this clip from years ago when a reporter asked Trudeau, what about all this debt that you're accruing? What happens if, in the future when we have to service that debt? What did he have to say about it?
Regardless of what that figure is exactly, future governments are going to have to carry that debt. The servicing costs on that are going to be very high.
Sorry?
The servicing costs on the debt that you're going to have to carry, that you're adding to now, right?
Interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn.
Okay, but it's still a lot of money.
No.
It's still a lot of money.
No.
And you don't know where. Okay, but how are you going to pay for that? How are you going to pay for those costs in future years? Are you going to increase taxes, or are you going to cut programs?
Okay. Right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, he doesn't answer. He doesn't answer about raising taxes or cutting programs. And this government has not been cutting any programs, so all you're going to expect from them is to raise more taxes. But here's Chrystia Freeland bragging about how great a job they have done in Canada. By the way, she is the finance minister. This is her announcing their new budget.
Building a Canada that delivers on the promise of the greatest country in the world.
Okay, get on with it.
That work will be our government's work for these next 2 years.
I know this is so painful. Nobody reads like this. Even your dyslexic mechanic that reads you the news. Nobody reads a speech like this. It is just absolutely disorienting to listen to somebody speak with such a pace. People don't even do this to children because it's so maddening, but I don't know. I guess it's a liberal thing. Anyway, I'm going to put it on 1.75 times so you can actually get a gist of what she actually has to say here.
And beyond. Canada is not and never has been broken. are the imperfect and remarkable creation of generations of Canadians who did their part to build a better country, in good times and in tough times, calloused hand by calloused hand. Generations of Canadians who fought fear and cynicism with hope and hard work.
You're not going to hope anybody a meal on their table or hope somebody some heat in their home, because this is what people are actually struggling with. But continue.
Generations of Canadians who fought day after day to keep Canada moving forward. And generations of Canadians who believed, just as I do today, that in our magnificent country, better is always possible.
So those are the platitudes there, not mentioning anything about stealing the wealth from those Canadians that built all of that. It's what they're doing when they're spending your money so recklessly. It is really, really insane at this point. But hey, in Canada, we've had over 2 million food bank visits in Canada in just 1 month. Hey, why not? Why not? But at the time that this website went together, it was almost 2 million. Yeah, it topped over 2 million visits in Canada. And these are not the only things. Like, people are really scrounging at this point. Cost of living in Canada may mean winter tires are put on ice. Here's why. This is something that's a safety issue in Canada for maybe some of our American audience down in the southern regions, the Sun Belt or whatever. You don't know that you have to go through this, but yeah, it's definitely a safety issue to have snow tires in the winter. With winter just around the corner, Canadians, many are likely dreading the age-old problem of driving in snow, but a new study shows that 1 in 3 are considering not investing in winter tires due to the ongoing cost of living crisis facing the country. Now, despite, this being a safety issue, there's still 31% who say that they're facing costs that make winter tires a difficult purchase to make. The study does note, even with that difficulty, a large majority, 85%, believe that winter tires are an important investment despite that rising cost of living, meaning it may put some at odds with whether to invest or not, whether to put safety first or worry about feeding themselves. This is what our Liberal government has created in our economy. Now, what are they doing? They're investing in jobs. Well, Pierre Poilievre here points out that this, the multi-billion-dollar job-creating battery plant, it's not even going to create Canadian jobs. And this is what $15 billion of our taxpayer dollars is going to make.
And now we learn that the $15 billion grant to the Stellantis plant will fund mostly jobs for non-Canadians, not immigrants. We love jobs for immigrants. Jobs for people who are not Canadian citizens and will not be Canadian citizens. They will come here, get a taxpayer-funded paycheck, and take it back to their country. I love South Korea. Wonderful country.
Sure.
But they don't fund jobs for Canadians, and we shouldn't fund jobs for their workers.
No way.
Our money should fund our paychecks. Bring it home. That's why common sense conservatives are demanding a full inquiry into how many of these taxpayer-funded jobs are going to temporary foreign workers. We want a commitment that none of the money should go to temporary foreign workers, should only come to Canadians. This is a $15 billion grant to one company. $15 billion works out to $1,000 for every single Canadian family. You got 15 million families in Canada. You got $15 billion for this one company. Every family in Canada will give $1,000 to this plant. And now we know that the majority of the jobs won't even go to Canadians.
That's just crazy. $15 billion, $1,000 per family going to a multinational corporation that's just going to take this as profits. And do we need to be doing this? Do we need to invest in these companies? Why can't we just create the incentives for these companies to come to Canada in the first place in the form of lower taxes and less regulatory burden? But I'll digress on that one. Canada is investing in housing. Well, how is this going to work out? Canada invests $444 million with a company that says millennials don't want a home. What does this mean? Canada keeps repeating it's spending billions on new housing, but with who? And how does it help? Earlier this week, Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland announced $1.2 billion worth of investments to build rentals in Toronto. They're just giving this money away. It's crazy. It turns out that over a third of these funds are going into one project on 373 Front Street each, which are rentals that were planned years ago. It's not even a new project. This is already in the works, but now they're just going to give this company money that was already investing in this thing. Toronto-based Tricon Capital is one of the owners of the 855-unit project. They are best known for buying and owning tens of thousands of single-family homes in a short time. Now, this is crazy to think that Canada is providing funds to a company that buys hundreds of homes per month. Why do they need our money? Why can't they buy the homes on their own, and why can't we invest in other things? Or how about just give everybody a tax break so Canadians can invest in their own stuff? This is really where it comes down to. Now, this company, Tricon, the Canadians may not be familiar with them, says the article, especially outside of Toronto. However, the firm is a multi-billion-dollar company traded on the New York Stock Exchange and the TSX. The company treats single-family homes like Pokemon. Gotta catch them all. Their target is to buy 800 homes per month, and they currently have around 38,000 in their portfolio. Most of them are single region, in a single region of the U.S. Sun Belt, concentrating the stock. Canadians may not know who they are, but they're infamous across America, especially after CEO Gary Berman was on 60 Minutes and earned the title of Internet Villain. Now, here's a clip of that 60 Minutes interview. I'm not going to show it because, 60 Minutes is pretty good for taking that stuff down. So we'll leave that one at that. I'll leave a link in the description down below. You can go check that out for yourself. But hey, do we have anybody on our side or the Canadian side to stop this bill from going through? Stop this budget? Well, don't get your hopes up. Breaking, the NDP leader Jagmeet Singh promises he will support the Liberal government's fall economic statement, which means the Conservatives' vote of non-confidence is doomed to fail, and the Trudeau Liberals will remain in power. And that's just that. It looks like adding another almost $40 billion to the tally of what we owe as Canadians. Do you think any of these politicians are going to be left on the hook for any of this stuff? No. That would be the rest of us as they leave their positions and go off into the sunset and do whatever it is that they're going to do with most of the money that they've embezzled, likely. Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of all of this, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.